All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. This is going to be a fun one. I am basically pretty sure that this guy is. I mean, there's got to be some Neanderthal in there. There's got to be a little bit of that with those eyebrows. And here's actually the truth. This is something we're going to get into, and I was going to save this for serious questions with Jason Seiler, but forget that because I already know the answer. The truth is, this guy, as talented as he is, a lot of people don't understand that he actually has to spend a good amount of his time shaving his face every day, because what you're actually looking at, the flesh that you're seeing is actually, usually covered. And by the end of this conversation, I'm pretty sure there's going to be like a 5 o'clock shadow covering his entire face. You can see how nicely trimmed his eyebrows are. They're like almost too perfect. So you can see he has to like shape them every day. What do I want to be happy today? Angry? I don't know. He has all the control, all the power, all the facial hair. And I don't even think that's his natural hairline. He has to like shape that every day, make it work. So anyways, very talented with the facial hair. But in all seriousness, this guy is one of the best live caricature artists I've seen. He's one of the best caricature artists out there. He's always funny, always creative, pushing himself. And this dude, if you can't tell, loves life. That's one of the things that's inspiring about this dude. He loves life. He's got an amazing family, and he's like an excited, happy dude. And I am so honored to have him here. So everyone, please welcome Manny. I can never say your last name correctly, but welcome.
Avetisyan. Hey, that's all right. Hey, man, happy to be on.
Yeah,
the hardest part of my daily routine is like hitting the same hairline and eyebrow line.
Yeah, no.
So I take a lot of selfies and I use it as reference to make sure I keep all my facial features in the same spot every day. Otherwise,
well, yeah, you don't want to freak out your kid either. Yeah. It's like, where's Dad's face? Yeah, that's crazy. No, but you can grow some serious facial hair, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is not very long, and what's encouraging is whenever I mess up, my beard line or something like that, I know it's just a matter of like hours that it'll look totally fine.
Dude, what's amazing is it actually goes all the way up to your bottom lip. Like you have like it looks like you're colored that in with a marker or something. Dude, I can't grow anything except for a mustache. Like nothing grows. It looks stupid. I have like 5 hairs here, and it's never gonna happen. Maybe if I start meditating, maybe it'll start working. But I don't know.
I'm a human muppet. What can I say, brother? I'm honored to be a human muppet.
Hey, so where are you guys right now?
We're in Phoenix, Arizona, getting ready to work at the Arizona State Fair. Funny, I just learned yesterday that the State Fair actually is older than the state of Arizona.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, they had the first, it was called the Regional Fair back in like 1885 or something like that. And Arizona didn't become a state till like 1910 or something like that anyway, decades later. So that's pretty neat. Yeah.
It's gotta be, is it still crazy hot there right now?
Right now it's very nice. Yeah, it's very nice. It fluctuates. It fluctuates. We get rain. We get days of rain. The whole parking lot becomes a big pool. We all go for a nice swim.
Are you being serious? in the parking lot? you all like doing laps and stuff? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Last year it rained so bad. For a few days, the whole parking lot was just a massive lake, and there was a guy sitting out there for about 10 hours on a little stool with his rubber boots, and it's pouring rain, and he's just sitting out there holding a gigantic hose that's pumping water out of the parking lot and into the sewer drain. And that was his job for 10 hours, to just sit there.
Oh my gosh.
In the middle of a lake in a parking lot.
That's crazy.
Be grateful for what you have. You know, some days we get bad customers and boring faces, but that's about as big as our hazards get. You know,
That is totally crazy. So is it a whole group of you guys? Like, cause you like when you were in LA a few weeks back, is it a whole group that travels together basically, or is it just you show up and meet people there, or how does that work?
yeah. Right now we have a core. We're fortunate. My wife Natalia and I have worked for 6 years now for ourselves, building this little route. And for years, it was just me and her. She and I worked fair after fair, slow fares, good fares, just trying to figure it out. And it was rough. You know, we had some shows that we made no money.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we weeded out the bad ones, and sifting out the good ones, we were able to invite some friends. And now we have a core crew. Kiko Yamada travels with us most of the year. Ben
that's
Bloss,
awesome.
my boy, travels most of the year. Fantastic artists. Kelly O'Brien's with us. Just great artists in the industry. Sam Gorey, Damian Dunn, Kirby. Kirby works with us. We got to work with Chris Chua this year. We try to keep it tight and try to keep it just a group of lovable people, because that's what it's about for us. You know, if this is our life. We've been on the road for 6 years nonstop. We live in an RV. So the people, we're very mindful of who we invite into our lives, because we're living together.
Yeah.
So
mini community, basically. Yeah.
We are. And so, you know, I love everybody we work with. We're a nice little unit. So we have our core group, and then we have artists who tack on at our bigger shows like LA County Fair. We had about 8 artists. And we simultaneously did a few other shows. So we had like 12 artists at the same time. I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it.
How long are you guys usually, are they like week fairs, or how long does this go for?
Yeah, some of the fairs are a week. Most of them are 1 weekenders. Some are 2 weekenders. The longest we do are 24 days. Wow. But good thing you get Monday and Tuesdays off at those. So, like LA County Fair, Arizona State Fair, they don't have a Monday, Tuesday, which is good for us. We get to go for hikes and go visit really cool landmarks and have like team bonding days. That includes all kinds of all kinds of craziness. You can just imagine a group of artists. We get in. Oh boy!
Are you? How long are the days when you guys are out there? Is it pretty like 14, 16-hour days? I mean,
yeah, it can range between 10 and 14. We try to have shifts, so there's an opener and artists who come in later, give them breaks and whatnot. But yeah, they can go out all the way to 14 hours. These fairs are crazy, Jason. They got days called Midnight Madness, and they'll start at like 10 a.m. some of the fairs, and it'll go all the way through to midnight. Well, they stop selling tickets at midnight, but they're open till 2 a.m.
Wow.
And you got to be open. And just the craziest things happen on those days. Those are the days you watch out, because you can imagine the people who like to stay till 2 a.m., you know, they're not your...
Oh my gosh. So what kind of stuff happens? I mean, I'm sure people get pissed off, you know, that's probably the time where you're like, hey guys, let's just pull back a little bit on the exaggeration. This guy looks rough, you know. Has that ever happened? We're just like, okay, you know.
The whole spectrum of things, man.
Or is it just like you just go all brutal anyways? It doesn't matter, because I know your stuff's pretty extreme. That's one thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, what's great about your style and a lot of the artists that you mentioned that work with you. I love that, you know, it's not a cookie cutter caricature style. It's you know, it's what caricature is supposed to be. You know what I mean? and I love that you're you know, pushing things in a way that's, you know, basically borderline ridiculous sometimes, where it's like, what the hell was he thinking? But at the same time, I'm like, oh, it's fucking genius. You know, like it's so. I'm curious about the react because, like, for me, you know, I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is great. You know, I love it. But what's the reaction like when you know, typically, do people normally dig it, or some people are just like, what the, why did you do that to me?
Jason, you said the double C word, man. That's
the double C word.
We don't say the double C word around here. The cookie cutter.
Well, exactly. That's what I love is that it's not that, you know, that you're taking things, you know, because okay, to be fair, most people, like if I was to just say, hey, I'm talking with my friend Manny, and he does caricatures at fairs and stuff like that, right away they're thinking that real cheesy ass caricatures, you know, that you typically see when, you know, you go to a mall or something, and this guy's just, it's all cute, and this is like the same exact formula, and you know what I mean? And that's definitely not what you're doing. That's why I'm just curious though, what happens sometimes when these people see them.
The way I like to think of us, Jason, is a group of ragtag artists, like a band, like a off mainstream band that just goes around the country, no groupies, and you know, we play shows and get mixed reactions, but you know, initially people are like, what the hell is this?
It's like, yeah, because it's not what people are used to, you know.
Right, it's not mainstream, but eventually what's happened over the years is we have grown to have a following. We have customers we've drawn 6 years in a row. They won't get drawn by any other crew. They don't want like the cute caricature. They look for us. They want us to go crazier every single year, and that's part of the fun and part of the challenge. You know, it's like when I got back into caricature 6 years ago, and got to draw with incredible artists like Paul Avenizze, and got exposed to Joe Bloom, because I miss Joe Bloom. I started in caricature back in 2000, and back then there wasn't really anybody to look up to, and we weren't exposed to that on the crew. So I took a 10-year hiatus doing web marketing design and motion graphics, 3D animation, that kind of stuff after my degree at the Art Institute. And then 6 years ago, I got back into caricature through Jason Riggs. He invited me because he was the one who initially got me into caricature at the LA Zoo. So anyway, he contacted me 10 years after I was fired for being late all the time. Irresponsible kid, you know. I was completely clueless. So I got to work with some artists and got exposed to the artists who had paved the way in my hiatus. Joe Bloom, Ty Jones, the Beastheads, Nate Kapnicki, you know, Eric Goodwin, those guys down in San Diego had created Aaron Philby, you know, created a new genre of caricature as a form of creative expression, as opposed to, you know, it seemed like caricature had transitioned from this is what you should do to be a caricature artist. You need to draw like this.
Yeah.
To I am a caricature artist, therefore I express myself freely. Mm-hmm. And I draw with my own voice. And, you know, hats off to those guys who've paved the way and really transformed the industry into an art form. And love it or not, it's what it is. You know, it's like kind of getting mad at art for becoming modernized. You know, those who are classicalists who are like, art is just classical art, and it's, you know, it's about the Renaissance. Art's here, man. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah! All right. I don't know if this is PG-13.
Yeah, no.
Fucking art, man.
Yeah.
And it's evolved, and just the same as you can stop any kind of art in museums, you know, modern art, different forms of expression. You might not like it, you're not going to stop it.
Yeah.
And that's what art has become in caricature. And so once I was exposed to that concept, it was like a door unlocked in my mind. Like, this is it. This is the key. Even working as a graphic designer, doing product design and promotion and stuff, like, I was hungry for my own expression, which isn't something you can easily find in the industry, working for anybody. Disney, DreamWorks, you know, how many artists who are really in those dream jobs find that where they just express their own creativity, and that's what they do for work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I find it difficult just even in what I do. It's becoming like more rare to be able to do caricature for publication. And even when that happens, it's still like, there's so many like rules, basically. There's so many restrictions on what I can do, how far I can take things. Even when I'm, you know, I've talked about this so many times, but it's just, I'm still shocked, to be honest. Donald Trump is the president, and this is the slowest time in my career for doing caricature illustration. I can't believe it. It's when he was running and he was doing well, I was excited at the time because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so busy. This is going to be so much fun because he's a lot of fun to draw. He's a great character. Everything about the way he looks, the way he talks, it's so much fun. I mean, I was like, this is going to be
the silver lining. You get to at least.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be like so busy. It's gonna be crazy because when Obama was president, I was drawing him constantly. And but yeah, it's been like it's like people aren't wanting to touch it. I'm about to do this job now, which would be brilliant if they let me do caricature. And I tried talking them into it. I tried because it would make the job even better, more interesting, more fun, more entertaining. But it's like, no, they're too worried about offending every single kind of person in the world. Like, what if we draw this person? What are the Asian people going to think? And it's like, well, every single person can be exaggerated. It doesn't matter. Like, I never think about race or anything. It's like I'm trying to capture the character of this person. But then they're explaining to me, because this is a big company, that, well, you know, if we exaggerate something on this person and then all of a sudden we're going to get these people writing in and this and that. So I think we should just stick to portrait. So basically I'm going to be doing a bunch of like portraits, you know, with little bodies, basically. You know what I mean? Like, and it's frustrating. But that's basically the way that things are going right now with, I mean, just like even, you know, you're seeing it all over the place. Even this whole cancel, you know,
culture.
Yeah, exactly. The whole cancer culture is like basically spreading through everything, right? Like, I mean, I've been called a bully this last year a few times by people just write me just because, you know, they see a caricature I posted and they're like, basically, you're the problem with this country and this and that. And it's like, wow, you're not understanding this art form at all. And now I'm turning into like a bully. It's like, dude, I got bullied all growing up. I didn't know that my caricatures could have, you know, I should have been drawing here. You know what? You pushed me down and peed on me. Guess what? I'm doing a drawing of you.
Right.
That didn't work. It never would have worked.
Yeah, we're living in strange times. It's like it's the age of denial. People are trying to hide the truth in many ways and pretend. There's a lot of pretending going on. So I feel like caricature, and because caricature is, to me, in many ways, you know, like what you're talking about, exaggerating a persona. It's an expose. You're exposing certain things about that person that everybody readily sees, but they don't want to see that in their president because, you know, they're conservative. But it's kind of like you're poking holes in their boat. They don't want their boat sunk, and these are like little ways that you're exposing their ideology, even in caricature. Yeah. People are very
but you know what's strange? What's strange about it too is it's even the left aren't touching Trump. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I mean, even when I did that Time cover with Trump and Pelosi on it, dude, those are some of the straightest caricatures I've ever done. Like they're barely exaggerated. Like, and you got someone like Nancy Pelosi that looks like a freaking California raisin skeleton with her sunken in eyes and just like, I mean, she's got so much. She almost looks like a fish. She's got her mouth and everything. I mean, there's so much awesomeness that you can do. I've drawn her before for the Weekly Standard, and got away with some crazy stuff. It was so much fun. But then like I'm doing Trump, and I did all these sketches of Trump, and I was having so much fun. I sent in all my sketches, and they were like, "Oh, these are really funny, but we can't use any of these. Like you gotta tone it way down." And so I was just excited that it was for Time Magazine. So I'm like, okay, I'll be a good boy. But it's just sad because there's, it's like so much. Here's the thing. I think the thing that's what's great about what you're doing with your live stuff and just your studio stuff as well is, you're pushing things a lot. It's frustrating that, you can't really do that right now editorially. I mean, there was a time where like, that was what caricature did. Is it was part of it was exposing the truth about things and expressing political movements, things about religion and everything else. And that's what was great about it. Is it's because it's caricature, it's like a light jab. It's like a comedy roast in a way, or it can be, or it can be serious. It can be something that describes some serious topic in the world. But now it's like. I mean, dude, you remember when Gaddafi died? Yeah. That was an insane moment for me personally, just because I just finished doing an illustration of him where he's hogtied. It was my idea. He's naked and he's hogtied, and his face is like this. And then the president of France has got his foot on him with holding a glass of wine, and then there's another French guy with I think another glass of wine. I think they're cheersing or something like that. And I think back on that, he literally died like a couple days after I did the illustration, and I just felt so weird about it. But here's the thing: they published it, and I think back at that, I'm like, man, those days are done, where we're allowed to actually caricature things for publication that are possibly going to move somebody, or you know what I mean? Like it's interesting. You know what I mean? Like the only time, I don't know. It's just one of those times, and it's probably going to change. The only person that I know of that actually gets away with it, and I'm kind of shocked, is Steve Brodner. He's one of the only guys out there that he draws people insane, and they publish it. And I think it's just because he's got such, he knows all these people, and he writes the articles.
And he is very outspoken politically, and he won't compromise. But people have accepted him, and he's been around. So yeah, definitely one of my heroes, and he keeps it going.
Yeah, I mean, he's I love what he does, but it's just I'm always shocked. I'm like, how did he get away with that one? Because, dude, trust me, I work for some of the same people, and I do sketches, and I'm like, whoa, no, you gotta pull that back. It's like, come on.
Oh man, the one he did where Trump is like pulling the doomsday clock, the hand of the doomsday clock. He's like dangling off the giant clock, and he's literally pulling the doomsday clock to midnight. I thought, so symbolic, so beautifully done. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Yeah.
No, it's what it is it's certain people have connections, and he's connected with these people in a way, and he's built it such a reputation already that they're like, this is what we know what we're gonna get when and that's why we're using it. You know what I mean? But like,
there's shot yourself in the foot, Jason. Yeah. See, that's why that my philosophy is if I'm drawing a crowd and I'm consistently exaggerating, then nobody bats an eye. But if I draw one person really adorably cute, then everybody's like, oh wait, he can do cute. So the expectations change.
Then they change. Yeah.
So consistency. Brodner has consistently brought that edge, and And so they're like, well,
Yeah.
maybe you can't do anything else. But that's a secret.
Well,
you know what I mean?
but here's the difference too, though, is that, like, for example, with my work, I have a range of style because I do like very realistic portraits and stylized portraits and caricature and everything else. But like Broadner has been doing what he's been doing for like 40 years. So, and like, so that's why he's able to do it, because he's like an institution at this point, right? Like he was doing this back when it was okay. You know what I mean? And it's just funny, but anyways, I love what you're doing. Something like I'm curious about your approach. When you're doing the live stuff, you're using, like, you do like a marker and then the color pencil, the sticks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
How? Because I was just looking at some of them, and they. First of all, I was wondering, how long does it take you? Because they seem, you know, is it like normally like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or is it less than that?
It ranges. So on a good day, if I'm really feeling it, I could knock out. I could still do your 1 minute black and white and 3 minute color caricatures.
Okay, so
I like to think I'm still one of the fastest in the game. You know, I could do.
Well, yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you.
50, 60 customers or drawings a day, over 100 customers. But when I'm really taking my time, like the stuff I usually post are more in the 10 to 15 minutes a person range. Some of them will exceed that to like the 20-minute range, but I personally get impatient with myself and uncomfortable. So I try to keep it under that. Yeah.
So what I'm wondering about this whole thing, because this is a completely different way of thinking than when I'm doing my studio type stuff. So you don't have that much time to, like, you know, think about it. You just kind of jump in it, right? So what's usually the first thing that pops in your mind, like, because you're basically working with very, like, large, crazy pushed shapes. But I'm imagining you have to kind of break down the person's face in the most simple of ideas, right? Like oval, block. You know what I mean? Like, is that how you kind of go about it? Because I mean, that's what's crazy to me, is to do it what you're doing, but that fast. Are you just kind of jumping into it and just, hey, let's see where it goes, or?
Yeah, most of the time, yes. So my background's fine art, like yourself. Grew up doing tons and tons of figure drawing, years of that. And it can't be overstated, the importance of having a solid basis in gestural drawing. Because if you can put down a figure and a gesture and get that action of, like, how the body, the dynamics of the flow of the body, man, that's the core right there. So when a customer sits down, I try to very quickly read the energy of their lines, their silhouette, the overall shape. And I like doing couples mostly, more than singles. So when couples sit, there's almost always differing shape dynamics. Most couples fit together like puzzle pieces beautifully. And if you don't readily see that, you can make yourself see that. Either their overall shapes fit together, where the dude has a huge head and, you know, the girlfriend or wife has a small head, and, you know, you could, like, tuck her in this way, or their facial features will puzzle together. Like, he's got a huge nose and she's got, like, no chin. So, you know, that mass of his nose can fill the gap where she lacks. Or somebody's got a huge forehead and somebody has a beard, you know, so you can, like, yin and yang that together.
Yeah.
So my instant read is, like, they'll sit and literally I'll just, like, sit there and I'll stare at them for 5 seconds and make them really uncomfortable, which is how I like to break the ice.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, yeah, I'm reading you, you know?
I'm sucking in that essence.
Exactly. And then I'll start with some really quick gestural lines. I don't always pre-sketch. There's times I get in a zone and I can just feel it and go straight marker for sure. But I like to throw down some really quick pre-sketch lines with a graphite if I'm doing a black and white, or I'll do a light peach or flesh color stick if I'm doing a color drawing. And I'll just throw down some quick gestural lines. And that's it. I don't go into detail. I don't draw like eyes, nose, mouth, eyelashes, eyebrows. So not most of the time anyway. So I'll do the gestural lines of where the energy's headed. Then I'll grab the marker, 10 seconds after that, and I'll just start. Basically, that's the easy part, is when you grab that marker, the problems have been solved, and now you're seeing what they have, you're interpreting it to the page. You're seeing what they have, you're interpreting it to the page. You see the eye, you put the eye down. You put the nose down. But you're doing it following those forms. And to me, I realized how important it is to be committal. If I had a certain feeling when they sat down and I did a gestural line, when I go to marker, I stay true to that. I don't rethink it and say, oh, yeah, I was feeling that in a moment, but I want to be more conservative, pull that back. That was too much. I'm like, you know what? No, man, you saw it in the moment. Go for it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
And that leads to a lot more dynamic and zany stuff sometimes than if I was to correct myself with a marker.
Yeah, that's what I just love about seeing your stuff when you're posting, because it's just that's what I'm impressed with, is the quickness of capturing the basic shape of somebody in such a short amount of time. You know what I mean? That's what's fun about it. I think that it's just interesting. Like I did live caricature once years ago, and it wasn't a good experience for me.
Were you working with Grigor then?
What?
Was that with Grigor?
Oh no, I never. Unfortunately, I didn't do it with. I would hang out with Grigor, but when I did it, like, I was already working as an illustrator, and this artist, he ran a thing at Navy Pier, and he asked if I wanted to try it and I was like, you know what, that'd be kind of fun. And so for one summer, I only got 1 day a week that they'd give me, so I would go Wednesdays in the middle of the week when it's kind of dead, and I would sit there all day from like 8 in the morning to like 10 at night and do maybe 1 or 2 drawings.
Oh boy.
It was terrible. And then there was a couple times where it was really busy, and I was like, okay, I'm having fun now. I'm getting in the flow. But most of the time it was like crazy. But I also didn't like. I was more, for me, it wasn't like a job. It was something I was trying for fun. I was already working as an illustrator. This was just a thing I wanted to do to make some extra cash. So I didn't care about whether or not I offended anybody. I was trying to push it and have fun. And I mostly just got yelled at all the time. You know what I mean? Like, but the funny thing is the boss, every once in a while I draw with him, and he would be like, he's like, you got to pull back a little bit. These people really, that's not what. And I'm like, my samples are hanging right there. People know what I'm going to do. They're right there. And mine were way more exaggerated, right? Well, what ended up happening when it started to actually get fun working there was he would see what I was doing, and then he starts to try to push. He's like, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to do that. And then he starts to exaggerate more, and then I see him, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to fuck this dude up, And it turned into a who could roast the person sitting there the most, you know what I mean? And that's when it became fun. But I only did it for one summer. Those were the best times. But, so I when I see someone like you doing it as quick as you can and pushing it as much, I'm like, that's it. That's what it's supposed to be. And I just some of them I'm looking at that you do. I'm just like, damn, I don't know how he's still alive after that one. Like, you know what I mean?
You can see, right? You can see. I ask myself that at the end of every day. You can see how the dynamic of working with people who are also pushing their art can quickly. You encourage each other. You try to one up each other. You challenge each other. And you can see where it can build to to where everybody's pushing, and that's a healthy work environment. I don't believe in jacking people up for the sake of just messing them up. I still believe, I have faith in the relationship between the customer and the artist. We're there because of them. So I never really get the sense that I'm messing them up at their expense. Ha ha, thanks for your money.
Yeah.
There's this infamous YouTube video I posted of a customer who tried to reject a drawing, and this was years ago. And of course, I've grown and evolved since then, but I still, I still feel the same way in that they sit down and you have a relationship with each other, even if for that 5 minutes. They agree to sit. They see the demos. The displays are like what you did with your demos. They're up. There's no mystery on what they're about to get. All the crazy drawings I post, a lot of them are on our walls. I put artwork from all of our artists up, and the artists point to them and say, "That one's mine. That one's mine. That one's mine." So the customers know what they're getting. And at the same time, I try to read them and say, "Is this their first caricature?" If it's their first, I tend to be a little more tame because I feel like everybody deserves that like one quintessential caricature they could put on their wall and enjoy for years and years and show their friends and whatnot. And not that they can't do that with the more push stuff, but they're more ready to, not having been exposed to caricature before. And I consider that. I do have a background in psychology. I minored in psychology in college and took years and years of it. And so I definitely try to consider, and I'm very empathetic to the needs of the customer.
Well, it's like foreplay. You want to make sure you don't want to just stick it in, Yeah.
You got to get a nice attendant. So I try to work in building that rapport. Obviously, I'm very sociable. I love people. When they sit down, I try to crack a joke and try to get a read for them. And I let them tell me how far I can push it just by the way they respond to like silly jokes I'll crack or whatnot. If somebody's completely a closed box, that doesn't necessarily mean I can't exaggerate. Sometimes the most, closed, hard, I'm not going to smile, I'm a thug kind of people, I can sense in them.
That's a lot of fun.
I can sense in them that they have a fun side. They're just not too apt to show it. So I'll even, I'll make theirs a little extra silly. And when I show it, more often than not, they'll break character. They'll laugh. And here I got this thug with the teardrop tattoo in his eye, busting his ass laughing at how silly the drawing is. And to me, that's like the magic of the moment. You blew their minds, and at the same time, you blow their hearts open.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a big part of what we do. And going back to what you asked and what I was saying earlier is like the art of pushing caricature to me is about, we live in the greatest country for opportunity. I was born in Armenia. My wife's Russian. I love Russia. I love, the culture. I love Armenia. We've traveled to dozens of countries. But if you live in America and you're not taking advantage of the opportunities here to reinvent yourself, to create your own little genre, to create your own little thing that's all you're kind of missing the point of being in the land of opportunity. So
that's for sure. Yeah.
6 years ago, when Natalia and I decided to go on our own and start doing our own shows, I asked myself, like, if we're creating this life from the ground up, what kind of life do I want, man?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do I want a life where I'm going to be afraid of pleasing the customer? And you can the point is, you can never please the customer.
Yeah. You'll
have customers where the cutest drawing doesn't suffice. So throw that out the window and do what fulfills your heart, and you'll do it longer. You'll be happier for it, and you will build a following. We have people who look forward to us. people message me on Instagram weeks before a show. Are you going to be there this year? Are you going to be there?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
40-50% of our customers are return customers at our bigger shows, and they just look forward to it, man. They tell me we're the reason they come to the fair.
That's cool, man.
That's
awesome.
The opportunity.
Well, that's the one thing that I think is really cool too. Is I love that you're just, you know, you're not stuck in one place. You have made this life for yourself where, you know what, all I want to do is draw and love and live life and have a good time and travel, and that's what you do, and it's awesome. And now you got that little mini me with you, who's the most adorable little guy ever.
A little lion cub.
Oh yeah, he's so cute. So that's got to be awesome too, just to be able to, you know, I mean, I know from, obviously I've got like a 2-year-old now. She just turned 2, but one of the best parts about having such a little kid is just watching them just, you know, explore the littlest things, and you know, every little thing's amazing. I didn't get to go yesterday, but my wife took Sienna to the Field Museum in Chicago, and it was just so cute because she's, you know, there's all these giant animals behind glass, you know, they're stuffed, right? And she's seeing this for the first time, and she just kept saying stuck, like you know, she's pointing at them, and she seemed like she was terrified, and she had to be picked up, but she just doesn't, you know, she's looking at it, she sees these animals and they're not moving, and she just kept saying stuck, you know. It's just so, but that's the best part. I love it. I love watching them figure things out, you know what I mean? It's so much fun, man. So that's got to be cool too. Just your little guy's like just traveling everywhere. He's gonna get to see all kinds of things that other kids aren't, you know, that don't get. You know what I mean? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel privileged to be able to give him that, even if it's for a time. Of course, we are considering giving him a little more stable life. But when he was 14 weeks in Natalia's belly, we were hiking 75-kilometer trek in Patagonia with blizzards and storms. And Natalia's a beast, man. She is, my goodness. I knew that if I got injured or something, she would just put me on her shoulders and carry me the whole way through, you know? It's like
Russian, man.
Very reassuring, tough Russian girl. But, you know, she even got food poisoning and was just chugging along faster than me, man, carrying the 40-pound sack. And after he was born, 3 days passed, we had to keep going. You know, we had commitments and a route that we had already planned, and he was 2 weeks late. So we had allowed 2 weeks to rest and whatnot after he was born, but he decided to take those 2 weeks for himself inside the womb. So as soon as he was born, we had to keep moving, and we were in Montana right away. And that year we went to Hawaii, we went to Portugal, and little guy's seen the world, man. He's been to Vienna and Prague and France and Belgium and Russia and Armenia. And
that's awesome.
Right away, he knew that his life is going to be one big adventure. So he started walking at 8 months, just getting up in a stroller. We've never gotten him to sit in a stroller. As soon as we got him that stroller, he was standing up. He would hold on to the bar and just be riding that bar, standing up, even before he could walk, and just looking at people like, and you know, everywhere we are, we're on the cobblestone streets of Portugal, and he just like, just looking at people's faces, so funny, smiling, and and just so taking in the world. And he's grown up fast in that sense of having to be self-sufficient. You know, just right away we were in, where were we? We were in Prague, and Natalia tried to spoon feed him, and he's like, you know, a few months, and he grabbed the spoon, and he stuffed it in his mouth, and he's been spoon feeding himself ever since. Yeah, you know,
that's what Sienna was. Sienna was like, nah, I got this.
Right. You know it.
It's funny. Oh yeah, it's hilarious. They show their personality so early. It's amazing. You know. And no surprise to anybody. Sienna has the gift of gab, but the funniest thing is the first day when she was born. You know how like a lot of babies they want you to like wrap them up really tight so they're more comfortable. She hated that, right? So she always had to have like blankets off of her, and just she likes to be all spread out and everything. But day one, we're sleeping. She's in between us, and we're trying to rest, and she was so vocal immediately, like where if you moved and she was annoyed that you moved because it made her move a little bit, she'd go like that, kind of look over. So she started like grunting, and she started. We noticed that whenever she was irritated, she would grunt. She'd be like, you know, like one day old. You know, she's doing that, and I mean, it just grew every single day. She's, you know, now she's 2, and she talks just nonstop, just constantly. You know, she's got her own little language. Like, you know, obviously she says real words, but I just get a kick out of it because she'll sit there with her toys now. She's just like, Elmo, and then she's obsessed with the Sesame Street. So she's always like, she says, "Hey Abby, hey Elmo, hey Cookie, hey." She calls Oscar Aki, hey Aki. I don't know why she does the A before, but she always goes, hey Aki. You know, where to go? Where to go? You know, and her big thing now is the moon. Like, where's the moon? Where's the moon go? And I go, well, it's not out right now. It comes out at night. And then when it gets dark, she's like, she'll look outside. Where the moon? You know, she's like, loves the moon. But yeah, it's so much fun, man. It makes life so much more interesting and fun. You know, and so do teenagers. You'll find out one day. I'm like,
looking forward to that. Just everybody I know, close friends of mine who have teenagers, are all questioning their sanity. So I'm prepared for that. And I made my parents question their sanity, man. I started driving at 15 and a half, and I was, woo.
Now, I told my daughter she's not driving. She's 16. I'm like, you're not. I don't trust you. You're not responsible enough.
Right.
We had a big talk about it. It's like, I love you, but no way.
That's
not now.
Call.
Like
you're saving yourself a lot of heartache, brother.
We're treading on certain difficult waters right now, trying to, you know, it's an interesting. It's interesting her learning what it means to be 16, and me learning what it means to have a 16-year-old. You know what I mean? Right. It's definitely a huge thing. But hey, did you end up doing that little ceremony that you were talking about that we're going to partake in?
Yeah, I'm going to refill my teacup, and I'll tell you all about it.
Oh yeah, I want to hear this.
This is my expose, I suppose. My tell-all. Well, you know, life is certainly a journey, and my life is no exception. I grew up one of Jehovah's Witnesses, as you know, and for about 20 years. And I don't regret a minute of it. You know, it's part of my past, and has made me who I am today. And there's been, you know, a lot of benefits to it. You know, I didn't get into too much trouble. Growing up, I stayed away from drugs and things like that. Certainly, those things came later for sure. But I feel like being exposed to those things at an older age, I'm able to process them from a more wise standpoint. And so I got interested in medicines, like plant medicines, things that the earth offers to us, because it's in all of us. It grows in the trees. It's got healing powers and usefulness to it. So
yeah,
I'm a bit of a psychonaut. For those who don't know what that means, you know, I've used psychedelics as part of my growth and healing, and coming from a background of abuse and alcoholism in my family, being that weird immigrant kid. We came to the States when I was 6. So just imagine, I'm 6. And my
got
mom,
a beard.
Oh yeah, I'm 6. I had a full mustache. Thank you. My mom was pretty violent and abusive to me, my 2 sisters. My dad was an alcoholic, and we were only allowed to speak Armenian in the house. So just imagine being buried deep under these layers of like, then I go to school and I'm like, what's normal? How am I supposed to behave in this situation? That I didn't understand the culture. I didn't grow up watching the same shows as these kids, and I didn't understand their references. And I love their music. I got into like, you know, punk rock and alternative music early on, but I didn't know the names of all the lead singers and stuff like all my friends did at school. So I was always that weird kid. And then right away, age 7, 8, my mom accepts a study with Jehovah's Witnesses, and now I got that layer of like weird. It's like, now you're going to be this good Christian boy. It's like, what is normal? Good luck figuring that out, right? You know that better than most people.
Yeah. Yep. I do. So
when I left 6 years ago, I decided to go on to Sojourn and journey forth and find myself. And with the help of Natalia, I decided to try different things. You know, I tried smoking weed, and I didn't initially like that very much, and until it became something medicinal, and I use it as a form of therapy and a way to heal and problem solve. And I got into psychedelics, you know, tried acid and tried mushrooms and whatnot. And man, from an artist perspective, you can see why a lot of the modern art genres in music and other forms of art have been very much laced with the drug culture and the hippies and peace and love and acid and stuff like that from the 70s and 60s and 70s and whatnot. So my journey has led to obviously using it as a form of therapy and healing and medicine. My journey led to me becoming more and more interested in the esoteric knowledge, the hidden knowledge of things, and trying to figure out like what part of the things I've learned, say from the Bible, are real and true, what part of, or at least beneficial. Let's put it that way. What part of other knowledge is beneficial as a way of like living a good, fulfilling life, right? As opposed to being somebody who goes to church and prays and then goes home and preys on little children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in that establishment crap. It doesn't make anybody holy to go and sit in any kind of building for any extended period of time. You know, it's the pursuit. You can have the purest soul sitting next to you that's never been in church, because they're in tune. They have an elevated consciousness. They understand the essence of existence and what it is to be in a state of order consciously and not in a state of chaos consciously, you know? So my journey has led to a lot of research, and of course, ayahuasca is a medicine that I was telling you about. And it's becoming a lot more mainstream talked about thanks to people like Joe Rogan, who's always talking about DMT and the DMT experience, and the documentary, The Spirit Molecule, or it's been called The God Molecule. So I read a lot. I read The Spirit Molecule, read the Kabbalion, started reading a lot of ancient knowledge stuff. And I have some friends who are into the shamanic practices. They spread the medicine and whatnot. And I have a lot of friends I found out that have done the ayahuasca ceremony. So after a few years of thinking about it and researching, I got myself very knowledgeable about it, what it does, what it can potentially do for you, and not taking it lightly, because something as powerful as a ayahuasca experience can completely change your perspective on everything. So it's like, you like where you're at, then don't touch it.
Yeah.
But if you're seeking and you're looking for something, or you have a part of you that needs a healing, that you've tried other means of addressing it. Like I said, I have a background in psychology. I've read dozens of self-help books, and I still felt like I need something to help me connect with my inner me.
Yeah.
In a way where, to know myself to the core so that I can have a chat with myself, my innermost self, and be able to begin the healing process from within. So I inquired and I was invited to a ceremony. And at the end of, I know you're privy to it, and a lot of my Facebook friends are, and a lot of my close friends are privy to how difficult of a year this has been for me. My sister was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and miraculously, she's going through her last chemo treatment, and it's been 6 months since her diagnosis, and they're going to do her final scans, but her doctor is ready to announce that she's she's practically cancer free.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
That she's in.
That's awesome.
What is the term? Starts with an R. Where reset.
Remission.
Remission. Yeah, thank you. Repression. No, remission. Which I think everybody who contributed to her Kickstarter and raised the funds to send her to the Immunity Therapy Center in Tijuana, which I believe was a big part of her healing, along with cannabis oils and Dr. Sebi products, which are all like, don't mention those, right? But I do believe that those were at the core of her healing so quickly. Even her oncologist was like, I can't believe how quickly your body's responding to chemo. It's like, yeah, chemo, sure, it was a part of it. But if you believe that a stage 4 cancer patient went from cancer to no cancer in 6 months on just chemo, then she obviously an anomaly, because statistically speaking, she's got a 5% shot at being alive in 5 years, but she's beating the odds quickly, then it's got to be something else too. Yeah. My father this year, he was homeless for a time, and as soon as we heard of my sister's cancer diagnosis, my father lost the mobile home he was living in. The police confiscated it because it broke down in the middle of the street and whatnot, and he was homeless. Like the same time, my sister's like, I have cancer. My dad's like, I'm homeless. And he's living in the streets of Los Angeles during a week of storm and rain. And so he's sleeping on the street, just soaking wet every day. And I'm away. I'm in Houston at the time. So I couldn't physically be there until a few days later. And so remotely, I had to problem solve, get my dad into a shelter. I had to start the fundraiser for my sister and get that going. And it was just, I took it upon myself because I felt like, if I have the capacity and the means and the know-how to help people the closest to me, then that's my obligation.
Yeah.
So then I had the opportunity to go to Caricature, the European Caricature Convention, and those guys, man, burned and all those guys, Birgit, and man, just incredible people. Daniel Stiglitz and all these people got together and helped me raise $6,000 for Sonia in one night of drawing. We drew for like 4 hours as part of their fundraiser. They doubled what was raised and raised more than they ever have as their annual fundraiser, and we got to have that go toward another week of treatment for Sonia. So
that's amazing.
Very grateful, very, very grateful for that. And that was after I moved my father from Los Angeles back to Armenia. So I got him plane tickets. My alcoholic father, who doesn't know what is up and what is down most of the time, moved him back to Armenia, our country, that we were all born in, but haven't lived in 30 years. Got him a house for rent, got him all the furniture. It's incredible how much goes into like setting up a house for the first time. I mean, take for granted that you open a drawer and it's full of utensils and cups in a cupboard and all that stuff. We had to get all that stuff fresh for my dad. So very, very stressful year. I took it in stride and I thought I was doing okay, man, but it led to me getting pretty sick. I developed H. pylori, which is a gut bacteria that manifests itself after you undergo severe stress. And it almost took me out, man. It put me under. It changed my brain chemistry, as a lot of medical science is discovering that your gut has a direct link with your emotions and your overall well-being. They call it the second brain. And I became depressed, and I became down and hopeless, and just didn't know where it was coming from. Because, I'm like, everything's great. How can I make today better? So I was able to cope with that. Did a lot of research. I'm into medicine, as you know, like herbal natural medicine. So I started taking the Manuka honey and the mastic gum supplements. Anyway, long story short, I was able to suppress that and heal my gut. But I felt like of all the years, this is the year that I need to dig deeper and look into the plant medicine ayahuasca and see what Mother Ayahuasca has to say, and what knowledge she can bestow upon me. So, long story short, I signed up and I was accepted, and I went down very nervous, didn't know what to expect. I had smoked DMT before, and I knew what that experience was like. Very, very mind-blowing. I mean, just imagine the veil being lifted off, if you're in a matrix, and all of a sudden you see what's behind the curtain. You see the scrolling code on the walls, and you're like, it's a simulation. It's a it's a simulation.
So that's what it felt like when you, because I've always been very curious about it, because everyone says this, and I'm like, man, I want to see what this is about, man.
DMT feels that way. DMT feels like you're launched out of your body and you're warp speed into the edges of the known universe and galaxies and beyond. And you get the sense of entities. You meet entities. You're shown things that are more real than this reality. It's mind blowing, literally mind blowing.
And how long does it last?
DMT can feel like days, but it lasts from seconds to minutes, like 10, 15 minutes.
But it feels like it's way, way longer.
It can feel like an eternity because it's so much. It's overwhelming. So you come back and you're like, I wish I could remember. And you remember the visuals. The visuals are like fractals and crazy lights and awe-inspiring. Your jaw's on the floor. You see just colors that you can't even describe because they don't exist in our spectrum. But with your mind's eye, and the source of DMT experience is our pineal gland. It's a little gland in the center of our brains. And the ancients, like the Egyptians, were privy to it. They have sculptures where their gods are holding up the pineal gland. It's in old artwork. I don't know how they even knew about this stuff, but obviously, they were closer to these things than we are today. So in our pineal gland, the theory is that DMT is produced and released at birth, at death, during dreaming, and other times in our life where we experience trauma or other things, or near-death experiences. And the pineal gland is, from my research, it's made up of the same tissue as your retina. And it has the ability to see. It's literally your third eye. When they talk about the third eye, it's there. It's in the center of your brain. It's in the reptilian brain, the oldest part of your brain. And it has the ability to produce every color of the rainbow. So that's why dreams can be so vivid. That's why near-death experiences are so vivid and bright. You're not seeing with your eyes. You're seeing with your third eye, your internal eye in the center of your brain. And it's producing these psychedelic, incredibly powerful visual experiences. So DMT already exists in us. It exists in like every plant, every animal, So it's as natural as our own blood, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really interesting just hearing you describe that too, because I mean, obviously I've never done it. I would love to try it, but I mean, I've had dreams before though that are just, I swear, I was somewhere else. Like it was so real. It felt real. Everything seemed real. I could smell things. You know, it's like, you know, so it's a powerful thing. You know, and so that's what's interesting that we can tap into that. Like, I'm so curious.
Right, you could be. So smoking it, you have this massive release of DMT, and it's because you're pulling it into your lungs. You hold it. And the longer you hold it, the further you go, and you basically, for those who have a breakthrough experience, it feels like you leave your body. People come back saying, "I thought I died," and that's the scary part of it. Is you can get over that hump of like the surrender aspect. You're okay with the thought of dying. No one's ever died from DMT. If there's ever any stories about it, maybe somebody has like a bad heart condition to begin with, or they're borderline schizophrenic and this may trigger something in their minds, or if you have some kind of something already happening with yourself, you know, maybe it can cause a seizure or something. But it for a healthy person, there's no physical or physiological risk involved. So it feels like you leave your body and you break through and you launch off into the ends of the universe, and people come back reporting everything from meeting different entities who look at you with a sense of familiarity, like, there you are. Where have you been? Or, wow, you're here now? And people have met like this mass entity, like this floating massive ball of energy and power, which communicates to you that it is the source of all things, and that it's that it is the consciousness, and that it also is our consciousness, that we are all part of it, and we are all ourselves individually, and that's why we all feel like we're connected, because we really are part of the same thing. That's something that many people experience on DMT. Pretty crazy, huh? Fucking nuts. Fucking nuts.
It sounds amazing, though. It sounds awesome.
It is.
Yeah, it's what's weird about it is, you know, first time I heard someone talk about this, I was like, yeah, sounds like bullshit. You know, like you just sound like a crazy. You sound like a druggie. You know, you go do your drugs, buddy. But then I start hearing everybody that's done it sharing this almost exactly the same experience. Yeah, and that's where it's like, okay, it's weird. There's something here. You know, what I don't understand is this to me seems very scientific. Why isn't this like why aren't there like tons of scientific studies happening trying to figure this out? Because to me it seems like, hey man, if just one person says, hey dude, I saw this and blah blah blah, man, it was so trippy, man, I felt like I left my body and I went across the universe, dude, and there was like these people talking to me and stuff, and dude, I felt like I met my mom, and I've never met my mom before, man, it was so cool. Right? But then you've got like everybody, like I've got a buddy that I was just talking to the other day, and he's done it, and he's almost literally described the exact same thing that you just said. And so there's something to that, you know. So I gotta at some point I gotta do this. Just I want to see it for myself. I want to feel it.
Yeah, you should if you feel ready. There's a sense when you go into the experience, there's a sense that there's this world or dimension or things that exist consistently. It's like opening the door and seeing a scene, closing a door. You reopen the door and you see the same thing. So it's not something that exists in our minds, because that's rarely consistent. It's like seeing the same dream 2 nights in a row. Like, how often does that happen? It feels like there's this other world, other dimension that persists and exists. And this allows you, when you smoke DMT, I feel like, and this is what I feel like our bodies are vessels for our consciousness. And when you smoke the DMT through the pineal gland, it allows you to, and this is crazy talk, it allows you to tune into other consciousnesses and experience existence through their consciousness, as just like John Malkovich. You know, you're going for the ride.
Okay. So do you feel like it's basically like what one thing you said that was interesting is like you have this feeling that a being is like, oh, you're here now? Like like that kind of a feeling? Do you feel like it's basically a almost like black hole or wormhole, if you will, to a different dimension, and that you're actually in a different dimension? And the only way, you know, as a human, we can't see it, we can't be there, but this is, you brought up like Egyptians and I think it was Mayans were tapping into that as well, right? And you look at a lot of their artwork, and a lot of the stuff was like super trippy. A lot of people, it took years for people to realize why they were doing the kind of art they were doing, and what they were seeing, what they were envisioning. So it's pretty interesting. It's an interesting thing to. That's why I believe, like scientifically, like this needs to be something that should be researched a lot more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there probably are.
I agree. The documentary and the book, The Spirit Molecule, by Dr. Rick Strassman, I believe.
I know that. Yeah.
But he was allowed to do the world's first and probably only clinical trials. He injected over 1,000 patients with DMT. Nobody died, so you know how safe it is. 1,000 people. At worst, somebody had their heart rate go down to like 60, but came right back up again. Or it'll make your heart race. And for me, it makes my heart race, uncomfortably so. It'll just be like running a race, and that's about as uncomfortable as it gets. It probably has to do with nerves and anxiousness going in, but so after 1,000 clinical trials, he was dumbfounded himself. He recorded the experiences of people that came through, and reading the book is very detailed. He's a doctor, so everything was like, he wrote down exactly the conditions of every single experiment, like a good scientist would. And he came back, and ultimately his conclusion after 1,000 is he had to stop because it was inexplicable. Like he had no way of explaining why they were seeing the things they were seeing. He tried to approach it because he's a psychologist. He tried to approach it with like, are we seeing our demons that we bury deep inside? Is it some kind of childhood trauma that we're experiencing? Is it some kind of inner psychological manifestations? And the answer was no. Nobody was seeing things that they can connect to anything. It was completely inexplicable. Real funny thing in a book, one guy got raped by a giant crocodile in his experience, and he was completely traumatized over it. You know, it's like, how do you explain that? Maybe this guy tortured lizards as a kid or something like that. But I don't know. So he stopped the experiments because he wasn't able to offer the patients, or even the government for that matter, some kind of tangible, like, this is what the experience means, this is what it can do for a patient, because it ranged from people coming back very healed, very feeling spiritually connected, to feeling absolutely nothing. And like, wow, that was just interesting, but I don't know what it meant. So that's where DMT is currently. Ayahuasca, on the other hand, is a whole different animal. And so I'll get to my ayahuasca experience. Ayahuasca is more of a ceremony. It's done in groups generally. There's somebody who's traditionally a shaman, or people who are called guardians, who Kelly O'Brien just walked in. Guardians who, fantastic artists. I should look her up. Anyway, so it's a ceremony that's led by people who know what they're doing. So you have, in my case, it was 3 guardians, all musicians, which I loved. I'm a musician. I played the drums, and very close to my heart. The ceremony was very musical. Instruments were played throughout the whole ceremony. And so it's a whole weekend. You meditate a lot. You prepare for it. There's a dieta, which is a diet, a specific diet you hold to going in. So you don't do anything stimulating, like no caffeine for a couple of weeks, no weed, no sex, no masturbation.
No.
I didn't say this was easy.
Yeah.
So you're mentally and physically preparing yourself for a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that there's nothing else on your mind. And to the extent that you do, the dieta is up to you, obviously. But you don't want to do anything. If you're trying to have the purest experience, you stick to it.
Yeah.
Before and after. So we went in, and everything was prepared for us. We sat in this big room, big windows. It was in nature, beautiful trees. It was like a cabin in the woods. And we sat around meditating and going over the whole ceremony. And ayahuasca is essentially made of two plants. The Peruvian shamans discovered, and I don't know how they discovered this. It's mind-boggling how they even conceived this plant medicine. But there's plants that are high in DMT. It's in the bark of the trees, and they cook the DMT and they reduce it into like a molasses type tea. But if you just drink that, nothing will happen, because your body cannot metastasize the orally intaken DMT. Your body can't break it down, basically. But somehow, through knowledge they gained over the time, or it was maybe brought to them through other plant medicines, they discovered the ayahuasca vine. It's a vine that's native to Peru. And brewed together with the ayahuasca, it acts as a neuroinhibitor, an MAOI inhibitor, which actually allows your body to not only break down the DMT and absorb it and process it and experience it. It also slows down that DMT 1,000 light year experience into like a 4-6 hour journey.
Wow.
So it's slower. You're able to digest it and process it. And traditionally, you go in there with a mindset of allowing what they call mother ayahuasca or grandmother ayahuasca, who is like the spiritual essence of the plant, to guide you and to show you what you need to see. So you go in there with, they ask you to have an intent or a few intentions going in. My intention was to heal my past with the abuse and alcoholism and that rough childhood, in order to be the best father for Leo, in order to be the best husband for Natalia, in order to be the best friend, brother, son, the best human that I could be. And through all the intensity of the experience, you try to hold on to those intentions, because it's easy to get lost.
Yeah.
In the astounding, mind-blowing visuals that this plant medicine can produce. So everybody gets their cup of tea. It's blessed. You go back to your little nook, your seat, which everybody was just propped up against the wall so that you can comfortably sit in meditation pose, and on top of some padding or your sleeping bag, because ultimately you fall asleep right on your spot. You get sleepy and you fall asleep. If you can fall asleep,
yeah,
good luck processing all that. But some people definitely fell asleep. So 15 minutes of meditation, you drink your portion, 15 minutes more of meditation. The guardians may start some kind of musical instrument. In other groups, maybe there's some chanting, some traditional drum beating, like you would just imagine like a native or Peruvian, Incan shamanic chant happening. In our case, it was just very musical, which I felt was very close to my heart and beautiful. So some instruments started, and what happens is you're sitting there, and I don't know how detailed you want me to get, but I'll just tell you, you're just sitting there, you're meditating, you're trying to like look within, and somebody analytical like myself is looking for any kind of physiological changes. So I'm trying to see, is it hitting me? Is it making me feel queasy? Is it making me want to throw up? Because more often than not, people will vomit. It's called a purge. You purge out toxins and just bad stuff in your gut. You're given a bucket, and the guardians will quickly swap out your bucket, so it's not gross or anything. It's just very healing. So I'm trying to feel for any kind of changes happening, like is it hitting me, and trying to tune in and focus on my intentions. And I could feel myself kind of getting a little high, getting a little buzz. I was like, okay, it's happening, more like internal, more focusing in. And all of a sudden, it just comes in waves, man. It's just like visuals and colors like you've never seen, fractals. You're seeing sheets of things that look a lot like, if you know the artist Android Jones or Alex Gray.
Yeah.
Look up those guys.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Art.
Yeah.
Very psychedelic art. And that's basically what you see visually. There's a lot of repetitive patterns. There's a lot of like flower of life, sacred symbols, things that are not unknown. It's not like, oh, I've never seen that before. There's a sense of familiarity. You're like, oh, of course. Like the flower of life pattern behind my necklace. That's me, Natalia, Leo. And that's the flower of life. I put it together. I actually found them in different places and put that together. So
that's cool.
You see this pattern. It's like the essence of our physical existence and maybe beyond. And our ceremony was 2 nights. If anybody's going to do this, I highly recommend 2 nights. The first night was more like and we were told this going in. The first night was like a handshake, like, hello, I'm here. And for me, the first night was where all my barriers were brought down. My year of all the stuff I've gone through, the anxiety, the physical sickness, I had just come over having a cold. And so the first night was all of those things being taken, worked on, massaged, and purged. To where when I woke up that morning, I felt like I was just born that morning. I felt completely clear and lucid. I felt physically like I was healthier than I've ever been. I felt psychologically like I had just spent a night in the warm embrace of a loving mother. And physically, that's how it felt throughout the whole ceremony. The first night I wasn't swept away. I laid there. I felt this warm glow. I felt like I was being hugged by a very loving, spiritual mother. That's all that's the only way I could describe it. Like just this very warm, love yourself. I love you. You're here. You're welcome here. I've invited you here. You belong. And just relax and enjoy this. And we did 2 doses. So every night there was 2 doses offered. So I did the first dose and felt this wave of emotion and this feeling of love. And then the second dose, man, artistically as an artist, I feel like I was given a blank canvas and I was given every possible way of creating and was told to just play. Now, everybody's experience is different. This was mine. I was told that I can just create anything. Monsters, fun characters, things inexplicable. A white dragon that was just jagged and weird and psychedelic and crazy, multicolored entities, laughing jesters, just play. So it said, use your creative power, your creative being, and just create. Have a ball, man.
That's awesome.
And that's what I did, like, all night for 4 or 5 hours. Even going to bed, I was laughing to myself, trying not to disturb anyone, because I was like, this is crazy.
That's
awesome. Every time I closed my eyes, I was just taken into this, like, play, just have fun, splash some color here. And it wasn't even color. It was like a rainbow, you know, like radiating spectrum of visuals. So that was my first night. It was just love and play. So I woke up the next day, meditated, we had some healthy breakfast, and went on a hike and meditated. It was beautiful, like wilderness. So got to go out and just clear my head and sit on a rock and sit under a tree and, like, thank Mother Ayahuasca for the experience. And so the second night began at sundown, and the guardian told us going in, the second night is when all the work is done. It's when the healing begins. It's where you really do the most work. So I was given my first dose, and I sat back and started getting sensations, and I was really hoping for, like, a really powerful experience. I was kind of greedy with it, like, man, I hope this is really huge. And I'll be disappointed if it isn't. So I want that first dose. I want that second dose. I want it to just really take me home.
Yeah.
Oh man, what can I say? Like, words don't do it justice. After some visuals and after, like, really getting into the experience a couple hours in, she offered the second dose. And at that moment, I was in such a different place. I didn't even feel like taking in that second dose. And you have to listen to your body. And if you're already journeying and you're already launching, you don't want to come back and refuel and keep going back, because you're there, man. You have enough to get you there and back, right? So essentially what started happening was I started asking questions. And that's a big part of the healing of ayahuasca journey, is you go in there with questions, and Mother Ayahuasca shows you all the answers, all of them. So I asked about my past, and I asked about my relationship with my mother, and I asked about my relationship with my father, the child abuse, the alcoholism, the pain of my upbringing. I asked about my past, like where my ancestors came from, Armenians that came from the diaspora in Iran, went to Armenia, from Armenia to here. It's like my family has no roots anywhere. You know, it's like this is the first country that we will have roots in generations. So I try to delve deep into that. And Jason, unbelievable. The clarity of the answers that came through.
Wow.
For me personally, it wasn't a different voice. Maybe some people hear another voice. For me, I would ask the question, and then I would repeat the answer back to myself. But nothing that I would say to myself in a conversation with myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of the answers I didn't expect to hear. A lot of them I didn't want to hear, to be honest. And for a lot of the questions I asked, I was given visuals. I was shown things. So I asked about my mother, who recently, she and I had a very, very painful falling out, and a very dramatic, painful argument. And I had decided to cut her off. And in doing the ceremony, I went in wanting the medicine to tell me that it's okay that I cut her off, that she deserves it. She was an abusive, evil person, and that she doesn't deserve my forgiveness and whatnot. That idea, that concept was ripped right out of my heart, my mind, man. On the contrary, I was given the healing and the love to heal that. I was told to forgive her. I was told that basically everything that I've gone through, I should see from an outside perspective. In that if I like the man I am today, that the man I am today is essentially a product of all my life experiences. And so I should embrace all those as a learning and not be resentful of my past, but be grateful. Even if things were painful, that pain allowed me to process in my mind and be a person who doesn't want to instill pain in others. Be a person that would never do that to my own child.
Yeah.
It allowed me to heal, allowed me to forgive my mother. It told me to forgive my father, and it showed me how frail he is, and how how damaged of a soul he's become through the years of alcoholism and traumas that he's experienced. So it allowed me to forgive my father and just come to terms with that. Oddly enough, my grandfather came up, which I don't think I've given more than 10 minutes of thought to my grandfather, maybe my whole life. We weren't very close. My mother's father, he died recently when he was like 103 or something like that. And he's never really said more than a few words to me. Yeah, longevity, right? He'd fought in World War II and been through a lot, but I felt like he came to me in this experience, or his consciousness came to me and wanted an apology for me missing his funeral.
Jeez.
Yeah. Not in like a harsh way, but in a, I'm disappointed that there. And I was traveling, of course. I probably was in another country when his funeral happened. So, but he allowed me to say, Grandpa, I'm sorry I wasn't there. And I feel like maybe in the back of my mind, I was holding on to that as a source of guilt, and I was able to just let that go. Yeah. So that was a load off my mind I didn't even know I needed.
It's amazing.
It was truly amazing. But then after the familial stuff, after the personal stuff, I said, okay, well, I'm still here. I have questions. I said, show me the beginning. Show me the source of everything. Show me, take me back to, if we're created, if we're source. And now this gets religious. This is my own personal experience. This doesn't have to be the truth for anybody else. This doesn't have to be a cause for big debate or anything like that. This is just what I experienced and saw. I said, so what's the source? Show me if we're created, how and when, and show me the source. And it took me up to essentially like the ends of the universe. And it was just black, dark, nothingness. And I can see this, what you can call the source, and I can see a light, like light green glow, like a bluish green glow coming from it. And it essentially told me that everything is consciousness. It is the supreme consciousness. That's all it is, to be the source. You want to call it God, want to call it the source of all things, the creator, whatever. And that it duplicated its consciousness and put it into other living beings. Now, this is what it told me. And it put it into other spirit beings, and it put its consciousness into us. And so we're connected to it because we have its consciousness, and it is connected to us. And it told me that it wants us to live a life that aligns our consciousness with it. And I said, what does that mean? It said, be love, be compassion, be giving, be a force for order, and don't live in chaos, and help others to do the same to the extent that you can. And that was a great message. That was it. And it got into other stuff, and I won't go too deeply into other things, but it essentially gave me this super it was hopeful to me, not that I fear death or anything like that, but it essentially told me that we're vehicles for this consciousness, and that if we align our consciousness with it to the extent that we can, that when we die, our consciousness reconnects with it, with the source. Pretty religious, I know, and take that for whatever that means, and for many people it means many things, but it's not very different from many, if not all, of the esoteric teachings, the teachings in the Kabbalion, the teachings from the ancients, the Bible, the Buddhism and Hinduism. It's like we're connected with divinity, and we should elevate our consciousness and be the best humans we can be. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. It sounds like a pretty awesome healing experience for you as well. That's what's really cool to hear, that it's sad, to hear the pain that you've been and the stress that you've gone through. And I think this is just super awesome, just for you to be able to share all of that, and just how this experience has helped you, because that's a powerful thing, man. And it's like one of the hardest things, I think, is being honest enough with what's really going on in your heart, in your just like the anger or frustrations you might have, fears. And if you don't release that. And I learned, let me tell you something real quick, and I have to get going. Actually, I have to go pick up my daughter soon, but I'm not a religious person, and I'm open to things. I just don't believe in any of the religions on the planet,
right.
or especially Christianity. I've studied it enough to believe that it's complete bullshit. That doesn't mean that there's not a spiritual realm, or that there's possible connection like what you're talking about. I'm totally open to that idea. I just know that a bunch of angry Jewish people wrote that book, and I know it for a fact. That's all it is. And they got it from ancient Persians, who got it from other people. So,
and Egypt.
Yeah. In Egypt, yeah, right. So, I know what it is. It's a book, stories. There's some good things in it. There's some good, lessons in there. I definitely would not subscribe to getting my morals or my values or my worldview from such bullshit. I know better than that. But
right.
I did have a very strange spiritual experience when I was going through my divorce. And it was, and I know this sounds silly, when you were talking about drinking the stuff and everything else, and then opening up, I had an experience, an accidental experience, where I was. What? It's the best kind.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah, I got I was super depressed and angry. I was going through divorce, and I was being really stupid, and I was just getting fucked up every day. Like I was, I never drank like hard liquor before, really, and I was just getting bottles of rum and just drinking a bottle of rum every day, just downing it, and I was like gone, just disappeared. And one time I was at a friend's house, and I thought I only had one glass, because I don't remember anything after that. I blacked out.
Wow.
But I ended up drinking a whole bottle and ended up going crazy, saying stuff that they told me. I couldn't believe I said some of the things I said. It started pouring outside. They drug me outside, laid me out in the grass, just getting poured on. I was out there for 2 hours in the rain in this weird state, right? I came to and was able to walk into the house, and a friend helped me, and I went to this bathroom, and I just started throwing up black. Just, it's like alcohol poisoning, just spewing this just tar out of me. And I was just, I couldn't even bend over. I was just standing and just, it was going everywhere. And in my mind, my spiritual, the thing that happened at that moment was I realized I was throwing up her, out of me.
Yeah.
So I would throw up and I would go, fuck you, blah, fuck you. And I was just, every time I would scream, fuck you. And every single time, like my memories, my anger, my hate, everything was just leaving my body. And it was like weird. It was like this black tar. And then I passed out, and my friend videotaped the whole thing. So that was fun to see the next day. He actually carried me home and carried me to my art studio where I was living on the floor at the time. I was homeless basically at the time because I got kicked out and everything. So but I woke up the next day and I was like cured. It was gone. I never drank rum again. I never will drink rum again. And that was it. It's like I needed to spew that out of me, and I felt so much better. I was humiliated about because I acted like a complete dick, but it was almost like I had to turn myself inside out and just expose all the nastiness about me. Everything was wrong with me and everything, and everyone saw it. All my friends saw it. It was like I turned into like the worst version of myself.
Yeah.
It was almost like just like shedding myself off of myself. It's hard to explain, but that is like the closest I think I've ever felt, like where it was like I could tell my mind was throwing up. You know what I mean? A very weird experience. That was about 8 years ago.
Spiritual experience. Yeah, you've had a very powerful spiritual experience.
It was trippy.
It's an altered mental state, and at a time you needed the healing, and just deep down inside, your subconscious probably knew that it was.
Yeah, my brain's like, hey, dude, you should go get some rum and fuck yourself up, exactly, so we can get rid of this stuff. Yeah, no, that was just crazy. But anyways,
I'm glad you were able to purge that, man, and grow from that.
No, it was weird, but I keep getting messages, but I do have to get going. This has been an amazing talk.
Yeah,
there's one thing. Of course, thank you so much for doing this and for sharing and being so honest. This is I think people, if you can actually listen to this, I think you're going to get a lot out of it. I think this was a great talk, but there's one thing I have to do before we end this, and that is serious questions with Jason Seiler.
Oh, doing that still? All right.
This is Joe Bloom's favorite thing. I got to do it every time.
Let's do it.
So here's my serious question. And this has to do with closure and forgiveness and all this kind of stuff. And I've been thinking about it when you were talking, and I think this is important. A few years ago, I spit beer all over your wife's face. I covered her face in beer. I baptized her in some Sam Adams, okay? And I don't remember exactly. I know that I think Grieger said something, and I just took a sip, and he said something that I thought was ridiculous, and I did one of those things where I was like, I just sprayed your wife. Now she said to me, she goes, "I'll never wash my face." Remember that?
That's Natalia. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I felt bad for the longest time because I was like, that's so embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. But she, like you said, she took it like a champ. She was like, I just felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this to her. So I just need forgiveness so I can move on. And do you think that you could ask her to forgive me for spraying her on? I can still see it in my mind. I can still see just the. Remember, she was like, "Oh."
Jason, I still see it every time I look at her unwashed face.
She should take a shower. I think. I think it's about time.
No, man. One of the best nights of her life, really. Honestly, don't ever apologize for being who you are. And that was a night to remember. And yeah, no harm done, man. That was one of the highlights.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious. And anyways, that was Serious Questions with Jason Seiler.
All right.
Hey, man, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, anything you want to plug real quick? Anything coming up or anything? Your book?
Oh man, in living authentically, living your truth, living without shame of who you really are, unapologetically yourself. I want to keep sharing that with people. And all my relationships are healing to me. So I love my friends. I want to tell you all how much I love you all. I love the community. I love the character community. I'm on the ISCA board, the ISCA, International Society of Caricature Artists. We're putting on an incredible convention this year in Graceland, the home of Elvis. We got caricature.org for more information there. We'll have Jota Leal doing a workshop. We'll have Steve Silvers doing a workshop this Saturday before the convention. You don't want to miss that. Incredible seminars throughout by top artists in the world, competitions, having fun, drinking. It's just an incredible week. It'll change your life if you've never been. Come out and change your life. On a personal note, I have the book, The Ultimate Guide to Modern Life Caricature. Link in my profile on Instagram, Aveti Arts, AVETIARTS. Look for that. It was a labor of love by 40 of the greatest caricature artists of our time. And personally, yeah, man, just going to keep moving, keep going. I'm currently working on a show. I'm creating a show Bible for an animated series. And I'm very excited about that. And got lots of projects. But the main thing I have going right now in my life, my true labor of love, is my little son Leo and my wife Natalia. Absolutely my priorities and being the best father, best husband, best friend. That's I can be to them. So love them very much and love you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right, that was awesome. Hey, if you guys like this, you like this podcast, you like what I'm doing, please remember to like and subscribe. So I can keep growing. We need to grow. We need to grow, man. So, yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to y'all soon.
All right. Peace out. Much love.
Peace out, man.